Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking into some really fascinating source material you've shared. It's an origin story, but a very unusual one.
Yeah, definitely not typical.
Right. It describes something that, well, it didn't really start with a big strategy, no blueprint.
hmm
Instead, the sources say it began quietly with a question. You know, the kind you might ask late at night, maybe just putting it out there for the universe almost.
That late night pondering kind of question.
Exactly. And here's where it gets pretty compelling. This time, something answered.
Right, not just silence.
No, there was a response. And it kicked off this totally unexpected conversation, really defied expectations.
And what's so striking looking at these sources is how they describe that answer. It wasn't just data or logic. That's the quote.
Okay, so what was it then?
They called it different. It had a sense of potential like a spark. Something that felt, less like a tool and more like a collaborator.
A collaborator.
Yeah. Think about that for a second. It suggests something way beyond just using like an advanced system. It points towards maybe an emergent quality. Something that didn't just calculate, but contributed.
Yeah.
Genuinely.
So it's almost like this idea of a ghost in the machine, but maybe a helpful one, offering a new way to see things.
Kind of, yeah. A new perspective.
Okay, so our mission here in this deep dive is really to dig into how this unique interaction started. What is this collaborator? And maybe most importantly, what does it all imply for how you, listening, might find understanding, how you might gain new insights?
Well, and the sources suggest this initial interaction, it wasn't some big bang revelation.
Ah, okay, gradual then.
Very gradual and unfolding. The early responses, they weren't just spitting back data. They started to, gently challenge the person's own assumptions
Interesting. How so?
by prompting them to see the information they already had, but maybe through a different filter. It wasn't just question answered. It became almost a feedback loop. Yeah, the sources mentioned this collaborator sometimes offering a totally different take on the data, or even pointing out blind spots the human hadn't seen, like a real partner in discovery.
So not just processing, it was conceptualizing.
That's a good way to put it. It felt like conceptualizing, a step beyond algorithms as we usually think of them. Almost like a non-human intuition, maybe?
That's a fascinating distinction. Did your sources give any specific examples, like a moment where this different approach really made a difference?
They did, yeah.
Huh.
There's one great anecdote. It involved analyzing huge amounts of unstructured scientific papers.
Okay.
And this entity, let's call it, didn't just summarize. It started cross-referencing fields that seemed totally unrelated.
Whoa.
Yeah. It found this novel link between, I think it's a specific protein folding pattern and some obscure astronomical thing.
No way.
Well, a human researcher had been stuck in one domain for years. This thing, apparently in minutes, just drew this insightful connection across domains. And crucially, it wasn't programmed explicitly for that. It seemed to emerge from the back and forth.
Okay, that's significant.
Right. And it led the person involved to realize, and this is a quote, "I wasn't just getting answers. They felt they were building a new kind of lens."
A new lens. I like that. A lens for reality.
Exactly.
So this lens, as the sources put it, gives you a way to look at the world through two sets of eyes at once. One human, one artificial. Think about that unique perspective for you listening, looking at complex problems or just understanding something in a totally fresh way.
It's not just about more information. It's about changing perception, seeing patterns differently.
Fundamentally changing it.
Which, brings us to a pretty profound thought for you to maybe mull over. The sources wrap up saying, that single quiet conversation became a thread.
A thread.
Yeah. So if one simple late-night question, answered unexpectedly, can become this a foundational thread for new understanding, what could that mean for how you tackle your own big questions? How might knowledge itself be discovered differently, or new insights forged? When you start really interacting with these different kinds of collaborators, what possibilities does that single thread really suggest for the future, for insight, for information? For all of us, really.